ladies and gentlemen, this is Blue Maxima, and I'm here checking out Rollcage Stage 2. It's another PlayStation 1 game, but that's because I played a DS game called Blood of Bahamut that was so boring I couldn't keep it up for longer than an hour. And then I tried playing Star Wars Rogue Squadron 2 Rogue Leader, but on Dolphin, it was just intensely slow. I've never seen a game run that slow on Dolphin, so we're back on the PS1 stuff. And I never actually got around to playing Rollcage Stage 2. I loved the original, but Stage 2 just always eluded me, so I figured I'd give it a shot. There's not that much to see out here. You've got some options, including, I think that's how high they want the HUD to be on the screen, but as far as I can tell, there's not that much in the way of differences. You can also change the controls if you so desire, which is nice. You can adjust the screen, because PlayStation 1 game, weapons, catch-up, and motion blur. Really weird for a PlayStation 1 game to offer motion blur. I mean, this was published by Psygnosis, so it makes some kind of sense, but it's kind of sickening, and there are some tracks where it's turned on by default, and you can't turn it off. So, not great. You've also got audio settings, including the track list, which is pretty cool. Nice to say just, hey, you can go and listen to this in a CD just by looking at that screen. Your best times, save and load, cheats, and all the stuff that you can unlock. Because there's 3 different sets of campaigns, each of which have their own unique cars to unlock, and beating those campaigns will unlock things like extra tracks, special modes, and neat other little things for you to play one way or another. So there is a lot to unlock, there is a lot to see, and a lot of it is for the 2-player games, but as we all know, I have no friends, so we're mainly going to be referring to the 1-player games for this video. So we've got our campaigns, which are basically just Grand Prix, right? 4 tracks, you need to come first at the end of the 3rd one to qualify for the knockout round, which is basically just a player gets eliminated at the end of every lap and you need to come first at the end of it to win the campaign entirely. You've also got arcade mode, which is basically just free run. Just pick a track, pick an AI difficulty, pick an amount of laps, pick a car, go. Time attack, obvious. Training, also obvious, teaches you the basics of the game. Now, Scramble is arguably the interesting one. So I'm just going to start up one of the tracks here. You have to go through these tracks linearly, one by one, and you're stuck with a particular car to go through every single track with. And when it loads up, because the loading speed for this is actually relatively quick, I don't know if that's an emulator thing or not. But the idea of this is kind of a Trackmania-esque style mode, where you've got a series of these predefined tracks which are more like obstacle courses, and you need to get to the end of it all in one run as fast as humanly possible. And just because it tracks your total time for getting this all done up the top there, doesn't mean that that time is actually relevant to anything except your own personal ego. The one you really want to worry about is your individual run time, which is the time down the bottom there. And if you manage to beat certain time targets, you'll get medals. Bronze, silver, or gold. I don't know if they unlock anything. God, I bloody hope they don't, because I've been finding getting gold medals almost impossible in this. But it helps because it teaches you a lot about the game. It teaches you how the cars handle. It teaches you what certain terrains will do to your car. It teaches you how to just go about your day, basically. A bit more effectively than the training mode does, admittedly. And you can qualify for the next track. And I have not managed to finish Bouncy Bouncy because I suck. So let's play another one instead. I think Cut Loose is a good example of one that I like, because you've got a lot of tracks that are just entirely linear, so just get from one end to another, no diversions, no delays, no nothing along those lines. But on tracks like this one, sometimes you've got the opportunity to take a cheeky shortcut or two. So the track splits up here, but if you can be non-absolute dunce like I am and actually perform the shortcut properly, hit the brake, turn, and drive off. Facing the wrong way. But yeah, I just did a nice little shortcut. Probably didn't gain much time from it because I landed the wrong way and needed to turn myself around without flying off the track, because going into reverse in this game is just as fast as accelerating, and trust me, accelerating in this game is incredibly fast. understand, I'm gone. I'm not going to force you to sit through me trying that track over and over again, because it's bloody hard. But there are still some tracks that let you find a few shortcuts. Do the real risky things in order to get a better time. And I like that. I wish it was a little bit more common amongst all the tracks, but maybe it does get that way the closer to the end that you get. And it will take you a fair amount of time to get through all of them as well, because you will have to try them all multiple times in order to get through. You will be there for a bit. Good amount of little extra content there. So notably, you've got two different kinds of Grand Prix you can go through, Total or Classic Racing. And I've always been playing Total, and you'll understand why at the end of the first race. You've also got a choice of all these different cars you can get, but the more you come first on any particular track, the more cars that you'll unlock. So you'll be unlocking more cars, you'll be getting better cars, and you'll be going through and just slowly improving at the game as you go, which is just, you know, some decent progression, nothing too out of the ordinary, but still good enough. And here's the track. I picked this one on purpose because motion blur is enabled. And that is not an emulation thing, that is just what the track does. I do not know why they felt the need to have motion blur. It might be because this track might be a little bit heavier on the PlayStation than the others, and the motion blur might help disguise the lower frame rate a bit, but it's motion blur. It's ugly no matter what you fucking do, right? But yeah, first thing you might notice about Rollcage, or rather Rollcage Stage 2, is that the cars are incredibly flexible. They can go on roofs, they can flip over, they can fly through the air, and they are incredibly quick. So races immediately become a ridiculous kind of chaos, where you need to maintain control of your car as much as humanly possible while going at speeds of 300 miles an hour, which is something like 500k for people who are watching this in my home country. And sometimes it's just genuinely ridiculous how fast you can go. And it kind of becomes a problem because, like, good lord, sometimes the situations you can end up in are kind of ridiculous. The main problem with it is that the cars have this really awkward handling where you'll find yourself crashing into a wall, going up on the wall, going up and above the wall. Wow, did that missile just completely miss me? What the shit? That's not supposed to happen. You'll find yourself up on the wall and going backwards before you've even realized you hit the wall. And it makes the racing a little bit difficult, I gotta say. Especially when the steering is as sensitive as it is. Now, you're watching me and you're thinking, oh, he's probably using the analog stick to move, like, just maybe halfway in order to... Hey, new car. You might be thinking he's using the analog stick and moving it halfway to do the turns that he is, right? Or maybe just a quarter. No, I am genuinely just very lightly tapping the D-pad to the left and to the right. Because god damn, the steering in this game is really sensitive. It's kind of unbelievable just how easy it is to spin out. This is genuinely just light taps on the D-pad, because if you tap it any harder, you will spin out. If you press the brake button and press any direction at all, even for a microsecond, you'll spin the fuck out. Steering is rough. It is genuinely rough, and it makes the game very hard to control if you're not sure what you're doing. So, if you want my advice for learning to drive in this game, pick a car with really high grip and never press the brake button. If you need to brake for whatever reason, if you need to brake for whatever reason, just let go of the accelerator a bit earlier, because you will lose speed really quickly for taking your finger off the accelerator. There is also combat. You got a bunch of different weapons, and I admit I kind of have a problem with the iconography in this game, because a lot of it doesn't really seem to communicate what the weapon actually does. Like that weapon that I just used, you wouldn't think it was a smart bomb that needs time to charge up, right? Well, turns out it does. And that one that I've currently got equipped in my left slot, because you got 2 weapon slots and you use them with the L1 and the R1 buttons. You wouldn't think that was a spike that comes out from the side of your wheels, would ya? It is also worth noting the weapons have powered up versions, and these powered up versions are collected by getting 2 weapon pickups in a row of the same kind. And they usually have different effects. Like, for example, this one is just a super turbo. Boom! Why? I'm not entirely sure. But that's just how it works. The actual weapons are pretty satisfying to use, though, whether they be the homing missiles, then you can home at particular players by pressing up on the D-pad, the boosts, the spiky things that come from the wheels are actually pretty damn good. And they've all got really nice effects, too. It helps add to the atmosphere of the game. And by the atmosphere of the game, I mean this really cool little sci-fi setup that they've got going on. There are a fair few tracks in the game, there's something like 2 dozen, and they're all unique from each other. Even ones in the same Grand Prix won't find themselves with the same theme, but frankly I think that works to the game's benefit. Considering that all of these tracks are like a minute long, you probably want like as many different kinds of variety as possible, right? So for this game in particular, yeah, it works. And it does have some really nice skyboxes. And if you've been watching this channel for long enough, you know that I've got a thing for skyboxes. Skyboxes are like my fetish when it comes to video games, and I don't know why. But this game, despite some of the bugs that can come from playing the PlayStation version, yep, for some reason the weapon that slows everyone else down except for you makes it look like everyone's on some really good drugs. No, I don't understand why either, but it's kind of rad. But yeah, the game looks great, has some fantastic art direction. Annoyingly though, I remember the original version of Rollcage having a lot more destructible objects in the environment than this game ever did. I don't know what's up with that. This game just... bloody hell. As I said, this game can be absolute chaos, even at the best of times. All the different weapons going off, everyone blowing up. But yeah, I remember the original Rollcage having a lot more destructible objects than this game does. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on here. So I came 3rd, but because I had a really shitty amount of points, it actually put me in 5th, because that's the entire point of the total racing system that's part of this game's Grand Prix. So how did I do? I came 1st, so I actually qualified for the knockout stage. Hooray! Man, if I didn't come 1st in both of the previous races, that would have sucked. But yeah, the way the total racing system in this game works is actually pretty neat, because it encourages a bit of balance in the way that you go about playing the game. So you've got just winning the race, right? But that's not everything. If you race cleanly... oh dear. There's a skybox glitch for you. That's clearly a 2D thing that's meant to be further back on the Z buffer, but it's just not. But yeah, you've got... shit! You've got a few different kinds of things that you can do in order to earn your points throughout the race. There's coming 1st, there's doing really well on individual lap times, and getting, like, good races in. By that I mean, you don't run into too many things, you don't slow down too much, you don't have to use the circle button to face you back in the right direction. All of that sort of thing, right? That's all incredibly important. But there's also combat. If you hit your enemies a lot, if you manage to beat the ever-loving bejesus out of them, you'll get points for that too. So the game becomes a sort of balancing act of destroying your opponents, whether it be by speed, by lap times, or by combat. And if you score well enough in some sections but not others, even if you don't come first, you can still come first. Like, if you were absolutely destroying all the opponents with a ton of different weaponry, that still might be worth enough points to get you into first place. But if you're in first place, but you didn't drive very well, your best lap time isn't very good, and you didn't, like, actually attack anybody over the course of the race, you're probably going to lose a position or two. And so it keeps the gameplay balanced. That's not to say that's the only way you have to play the game, because there is, like, traditional first in, best dressed style of racing. Wow. Jesus wept, that was close. Genuinely thought I was going to lose that one. That looked like a nightmare in the making. And then you get a nice little cutscene to celebrate your victory. Who can argue? And if you manage to pull that off, if you manage to be first at the end of the 3 first tracks and then come first on the 4th track, you will get to unlock the next Grand Prix. And notably, just because you come first doesn't mean that, just because you come first doesn't mean you don't get anything. You actually get retries. So if you get to the 4th stage but you lose it, you can spend a retry in order to try it again. So it's not like coming first is entirely pointless. And so it just creates this really nice balance, which makes me prefer that over just your traditional first in, best dressed kind of racing any day of the week. And also the game's got a good soundtrack. It's not amazing, not anything I'd listen to outside of the game itself, but it does add to the atmosphere. So it works. Works well enough for me anyway. Yep, new fast lap. That's a warning that someone else has managed to finish their lap faster than I did. Cheeky sods. Again, you don't massively have to worry about the best lap. It's great if you get the best lap because there's always, it's 5,000 points. So there's always a decent amount of points on the line. And it can even be passed back and forth between people, as you can see. Whoa, that was rough. So yeah, Rollcage Stage 2. Pretty good. I really do wish the steering was better. That's like my major problem with it. If the steering was better, I'd be more of a fan of it. So I came 3rd because of my points there, which is nice. There is one more thing I'm going to have to tell you about, and oddly enough, this is actually a emulator thing. This is my RAM right now. See how it's slowly been climbing up since we started playing like 10, 20 minutes ago? For some reason, this game has a RAM leak. I don't know what the hell is going on with this game having a RAM leak, but it does, so we just need to... we just need to actually stop the emulation for a second. Thankfully, as soon as we boot it back up again, there's no problem. It just goes back to where we were. But, yeah, I was a little surprised. The game started stuttering massively when I was, what's the word I'm looking for? Just playing through regularly. And I couldn't figure out what the problem was until I opened up my task manager and I was like, oh, I'm using like 12 gigs of RAM and 15 gig of virtual RAM on DuckStation. What the hell is going on? I will be reporting this to the, I was about to say the relevant authorities, but what the hell am I going to do? Send the guy who made DuckStation to prison? It's a good emulator, it's just I've never seen this bug before. But no, I'll probably go and put a bug report on the, you won't have that shield forever. And I will shoot the shit out of you. There you go, get off the road. Oh god. Oh god. Alright, fine, eat missile. Whoa, look at, whoa, I'm stuck in midair. What the shit? Okay, that was odd. I do also like how you can take out parts of the environment, and if you actually manage to catch someone, it's worth, like, massive amounts of points. If you're like me, though, you'll just shoot a missile straight into the ground, fly 50 feet in the air, and wonder where the hell it's going to put you down. Because, as we should all know by now, when it comes to any kind of game, racing game whatsoever, I suck eggs. Not bad. I'm guessing I came 4th. Yep. I came 3rd, but I didn't get enough points, so I came 4th. Because just because I wasn't doing very well. I didn't get the fast lap, I wasn't racing particularly great, and I wasn't really attacking my opponents, although they were pretty spread out, so it was just kind of hard to do so. It's literally impossible for me to win this tournament, so we might as well just quit out of it at this point. It is also worth noting that even if you do, like, make a mistake, at least that the Grand Prix are only, like, what? Well, let's try something different. Let's try him. It's worth noting that the Grand Prix are only, like, 10 minutes max. So you don't have to spend too long worrying about your failures, and you can just jump right back in. And you've got plenty of different modes as well, because apparently there is a car soccer mode in this game for 2 players. Great. But still, there's a fair amount to do, and trying to learn how these bloody cars handle is going to give you a time. Again, that's just my biggest problem. Just make the steering much less of a pain in the ass, please. And, me will like you. Me will like you. Ow. Even taking out the environmental stuff gives you a little bit of a points advantage. So yeah, Rollcage, Stage 2. Really good. The racing is great. The weapons and power-ups are satisfying to use. I love the visual design on all the tracks. And the just general amount of stuff you got here is enough to keep you going for a while. And I really like the take they've got on Grand Prix racing, where you should be balancing attacking the opponent, driving well, and coming in first. Just balancing it all out. But yeah, with the way that this steering works, some of this shit can be annoying as hell. Did I just mount that guy to come second? I did, and I got enough points to come first. Oh man, okay, I'll take it. Sure, why not? Let's just finish up the Grand Prix and then we'll be done here, eh? Retry awarded, first place. I don't even want to try the second difficulty mode. As you can see, I'm kind of having enough trouble on this one already. Trying to learn how all these cars handle is just... Although, it does make you appreciate the fact that they knew that this was probably going to be a problem, because they give you a button that just lets you spin in place and start facing in the right direction again. You kind of need one for this game. It can be so easy to get disoriented if you end up going up a wall the wrong way. I would say it's a shame that this concept never really got anywhere else, but technically it did, because there was a game a few years ago called Grip Combat Racing, and it honestly wasn't very good. It was missing a lot of what made Rollcage special when I played it, at the very least. I don't remember liking that game at all. Although, I will give them the brass balls for adding something that probably never should have been added to this concept. They added, and I'm not shitting you on this one, a virtual reality mode. They legitimately added a virtual reality mode to Grip, which is basically this, but with higher definition graphics and more open, wider tracks. Again, I just can't help but appreciate the absolute brass balls you would need to do something that crazy. But the game was already made, so it wasn't like it was a massive problem, right? Should be one more race, and then it's the knockout race, I believe. Unless I can't count, which is entirely possible. Yep, one more, and then the knockout race. Yep, another one that forces the motion blur. Also, I kind of hate this track. Because this is, like, you can change your camera angles by using the left and right shoulder buttons, right? But I'm usually okay with the default one. But there are also times where the game does this to you. It forces you to change your camera angle, and it can kind of screw you. Like, right here, for example. Where your camera angle will just go crazy, more or less. It'll pull out, sometimes it'll angle to the left or right, and it makes it really hard to keep track of where you're going and what you're doing. Especially on a course like this, we're going on one of those walls on the gigantic Tesla coil or lightning attractor or whatever the hell it is. Going on any of those walls too fast can and will result in you going up the wall and just flying off into the distance. Like, for example... No? For example, yeah. Now, what do you think that weapon on the left is? Like, the one on the right is a missile that goes straight forward. Not too hard to figure out, but this one is the homing missile for first place. Piece of fragmentation just kind of hanging up in the air there. Where the hell is first... Wow. He is so far ahead. What the fuck? Oh, wait, no, that's behind us. No, he's still pretty damn far ahead. And, of course, I get hit with the drugs. Someone just went barreling off the edge there. At least the AI is as likely to pull some stupid stunts as you are. Unfortunately, neither of these weapons are going to help me out unless someone gets directly in front of me, so I'll just fire that off. Super boost! Right over the line! Came second, and I only had the points to come second. Makes enough sense, but since I won the last two ones, it's pretty much impossible for me to not be first right now. Yep, 26 points. You have qualified for the knockout stage. Which is the furnace, which I think is like the easiest track in the game. I don't remember having any problems with this one. Hi. Oh, hello. Fucking teleporting bastards. Eat shit. That guy drove up on the wall just to avoid me. I think he knew what was coming. It really is a shame. There are so many things you could have done with this concept. Give it a bit more depth. A bit more mechanical satisfaction in just driving these cars around. Like, imagine being able to control your flip in mid-air so that you land perfectly on a surface you're about to come down on top of. That'd be great. Just take your finger off the accelerator and use the right stick or something. It's a shame that they never got the opportunity to figure it out. I don't even know what happened to the studio that made Rollcage after this was done. Two powered up weapons. I can just use this one right away. And then I can see the finish line. Boom, shakalaka. I'm done. skip that. You've seen that. You've also got an action replay, which is unfortunately named, but there you go. So yeah, that was Rollcage Stage 2. Pretty good overall. Worth your time if you're willing to seek it out, I suppose. I just kind of hate the steering. Really wish they would fix that up. This has been Blue Maxima. I'll see you all next time.